Hello, Changemakers. Welcome to Experience Boston 2024. I'm Tom McGrath. I'm joined, as ever, by Tim Flower. Tim, it's that time of year where we get to see one another in person and record a slightly more chaotic, uncertain, dangerous but fun episode of the DEX Show.
It's a little unsettling, Tom. I feel like I need a little bit of a frame around your head here. We're not used to seeing you in person.
Yeah. You a real person.
Yeah. And this time you get to travel. I get to stay home.
Exactly so. But we are here at Experience, and listen, we're going to be open with the audience. This is one of the more freewheeling DEX shows you'll ever see. We've got no less than 4 fantastic guests. Our first one is already right here with us, Matt Williams. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, good to meet you.
Don't feel like what would be the word, like a crash test dummy, okay?
Okay.
And, feel confident and comfortable in the professionalism with which we're managing this exercise. But Matt is one of 4 guests who's going to be joining us over the course of the show. And as you can see behind us, we've got the exhibition hall is here. People are in training already. If you didn't already know, this year's Experiences are our first ever 2-day event. So we have training, and then the main stage opens a little later today. Today we're going to hear on the main stage from the likes of Accenture and Johnson & Johnson and Liberty Mutual. So a lot of things going on. And Matt will speak to you in just a moment, but I just want to see, Tim, how's Experience been so far? What's been the vibe? What have your reading so far? Biggest and best yet, Pat. Biggest yet.
So it is absolutely a step up from prior years, but every year has been. My first experience was it was called Analytics back in 2016, and every year a couple of virtuals during COVID. But this is a step up, and feedback, even just before we're getting started now, feedback's been really cool. Not only training, but certifications, different user groups, birds of a feather kind of user groups, so much going on, and 2 full days of stuff. It's really cool.
And Matt, I should give you a proper introduction, name and title now. So it's Matt Campbell, of course, product owner for Viasat, and that's like a telco, effectively.
Viasat, satellite communications company.
Right, amazing. And is this your first experience?
First
Matt?
experience here. Yep.
Early impressions, go on.
Early impressions, hard to tell.
Sure.
But I definitely want to walk the runway,
but
talk
positive,
to the vendors.
and
Very
not
positive.
To
yes.
lead you. No,
yes.
No.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So, what's the background with Nexthink generally so far?
I've been working with my account executive, really understanding the platform and seeing what it can do for us to really change our employee experience.
So you're currently judging whether it's Nexthink is the right investment option.
Yep. So we've decided it's the right solution for us. Yep.
Okay.
That part's done. Now it's about governance and compliance and implementation. So we're actually just gearing up for a proof of value right now.
Excellent. And thinking about the event momentarily, I want to hear a bit more about that whole process. But is there anything on the agenda, looking across the next couple of days, from the certifications to the main stage, which really stands out to you so far?
Yep. I'm really keen on speaking with people that are further along in the journey. The breakout sessions and those sorts of things are great in a theoretical sense. I'm very much a practical person. Want to understand where the rubber meets the road, where it collides with cultural artifacts of an organization, and really to maximize the value you can get from it.
And beyond coming to Experience and such, like, have you made any other steps towards getting to know the DEX community in general and seeing what's there in terms of support, input, advice,
Not too much, no. We are a commercial and a government enterprise, so we have a lot of other regulatory things that actually make this space a lot harder for us to navigate. When you're talking about data, structures, AI. So haven't gotten too familiar with the community yet, but really confident starting with Nexthink.
It's a strong community, I'll tell you that much.
That's good to know.
Have you come a long way to join us in Boston?
From California.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our headquarters is in Carlsbad, California.
Amazing.
Yep.
Well, welcome to Experience.
Thank you.
Welcome to the DEX show.
Thanks.
And I hope we don't ruin this early relationship with this.
Hope not.
Well, what a great trip to come out to Boston. A little cooler weather out here for you.
A little bit.
But I love coming to Boston. You've been out there for 10 years. Actually more than 10 years, right?
Almost
At
11.
Viasat?
Yeah.
Lots of evolution over that time. As a former customer myself, in IT, you always see things change and evolve. What's been your observation of how the focus has changed on to employee experience versus just the techie stuff, right? We were talking a little bit before the show about the focus on tech versus the broader empathy and compassion and understanding what employees are going through. What's your observation over your last 10 years?
Yeah, so our company is going through definitely a metamorphosis. We started off based in Carlsbad, really a US-focused company. Over the last probably 15 or 20 years, we've really emerged as an international company through acquisitions, mergers, things like that. Just last year, we closed the sale of a company named Inmarsat, based in the UK, operates in about 40 different countries. So we're having to evolve, right? Because a lot of your domestic processes and things don't fit for a variety of reasons. So with these acquisitions, again, cultural is a big part of our DNA in our enterprise. We give employees a lot of latitude to do what they think is right, so there's not a lot of centralization. So as an engineering enterprise, it's kind of this friction point between how you build products efficiently as well as give people latitude and space. So what we're trying to do is really evolve into more of that self-service, kind of resilient healing space where it's not so much focused on the technology or the stack anymore. It's I have access to the tools I need to do my job, and I'm going to self-navigate that.
Yeah, choice, flexibility, a little bit of autonomy also comes with a little bit of risk. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure you keep your security team pretty busy.
Very
but
busy.
For the employee, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I like talking to people, not so much about the past, but the future. With the evolution that you've seen and now your focus, what's the roadmap look like? What kinds of things are you looking to bring in? What innovations, obviously starting with Nexthink, but what other innovations are you really excited about that are going to allow you to impact that employee experience?
Absolutely. So it takes time, right? There's no substitute for time, I think. And you can't just do a right turn. You can't turn 90 degrees. So some of the things we've been doing to lay the groundwork for this change, again, cultural is going to be something you'll hear me say a lot because it's really important to us, is things like deploying self-setup for computers. Something that your IT department would do for you in the past. Make that a simplified, easy to digest process, and it starts to get people's appetite or palate ready to accept larger change.
Right.
So we've done that a few years ago, moving to self-serve mobile device management, creating a catalog of hundreds of applications where people don't have to request software licenses anymore. They just go get it, use it, and when they're done with it, we want to reclaim it. Nexthink is going to help with that. So those are the big things that we've done. Moving forward, harnessing AI where we can, right? Because you've got to be careful with that emerging technology. That's going to be a big part of it. Self-healing, again, to really not have employees focused on the tech or the tools they're using anymore, but more about the outcomes, right? The productivity. The tech should just kind of be hidden, honestly.
And part of what we talked about earlier too, and I think it helps you form that kind of direction, is looking at the service that you deliver as a product. Right? I have accountability for this bundle of services known as a product, and now you're chartered with improving that delivery of that product. What other hurdles do you have in front of you? What kind of, usually when someone's looking at Nexthink, they say, I have this big thing that I have to solve. What are you looking to solve?
Right. So like a lot of the customers you have and prospects you're looking for, we want to look at IT support ticket deflection and license reclamation and self-healing if an application is misbehaving. That's all kind of understandable there. I think we're really looking to, even though we do have a monopoly, word I used earlier when we were chatting, as a service owner internally, there's nowhere else you can go.
The customers aren't leaving if you do bad.
That doesn't give you the right to give you a bad service.
But if you deliver poor service, they don't leave. You do.
And so much like, non-monopolized businesses, I have to have a strong brand, right? Global IT has to have a brand that is recognized by the business that then they're willing to invest in. I see a lot of these solutions and technologies, that's where they fall down because people look at IT security as taxes, indirect expenses. They don't see the value of it. So it's about changing the dialogue about it and in ways that we're already used to as consumers in the world. So one of the things I've been very focused on the last few years is the concept of a digital marketplace. Not coined by me by any means, but where we all go to these e-commerce sites, we're all used to it, and you just consume it. I need this, I want that. Enterprises are usually really slow to follow that because they're afraid of risk, they're afraid of cost. It's about building a web of solutions that can deliver a holistic experience. So I'm dancing around your question a little bit, but it's also challenging of where do I start? Where's the value? Do I focus on the corner use cases, or do I really go for general population?
Yep.
For me, I'm focusing on the general. If I can make a 2% improvement on everybody's device and their experience, the aggregation of that is huge versus 50% for a small community.
Sure thing.
So, and then you work towards that longer tail.
Yeah. And one of the things we're sort of talking about and promoting is, didn't mention this in prior discussions, but it's a new report we released last week, which is the death and rebirth of the service desk. A few of the things you've touched upon already kind of point to the direction of travel that you have in general there. But how would you define that direction of travel more broadly? Like, what are you aiming to get to with regards to the service desk by integrating Nexthink, by integrating DEX, maybe over the next 2-3 years? Is there a specific vision?
Yeah, I think there is. And of course, the utopian end state is there is no service desk.
Yeah.
Well,
We've been singing that tune for a little while now.
Right?
Yeah. It's an uncomfortable
a reborn
subject, right?
service desk, you might say.
No. Does it need to exist?
The death of the service desk. Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts.
It will always have to exist because I think we're at an interesting point where I think we have 3 really distinct generations of technology users. Mm-hmm. I think you have the pre-internet folks, right? Your senior people. You have your middle, your Gen Xers at the birth of the public internet. Yep. And then you have your millennials who it's all mobile, on the fly, quick, right? Those are 3 very, very distinct ways to consume and use tools, right? So the service desk is going to have to exist in some capacity because we're always going to be having these kind of generational changes. I think the 3 right now are super interesting. I myself as being kind of that middle, right? But I think the service desk really, it's about empowering the service desk, giving them really timely, insightful, impactful tools if you need to react, right? The key is proact, right? Of whether it's agent-based or whatever, it's self-healing. We're using some of the buzzwords. That's great. Service desk is there if I have a problem or your portfolio doesn't have the thing I'm looking for. That's what it should really be designed for in that future state. It's really, if I'm serving 80% of what everybody needs, the service desk is reborn as just kind of corner niche use, which changes the financial models. It changes how you consume it, the tools they use. So specifically for Nexthink, I'm keen on the timeline capabilities, rewinding back to, Tim had this problem last Thursday. That's when the ticket was generated. Let's understand that. Maybe we can automate to avoid that in the future. That's a great capability, as well as integration with other tools to then hopefully move away from the service desk as a whole.
I got to ask him. We had a question in the survey, about the viability of a future experience desk, either supplanting the service desk or rebranding the service desk. I mean, are you thinking of those kind of concrete terms as well, or is that more sort of integrative in everything you're doing?
Yes. I think the service desk, at least in my experience, has really been service desk is coined as an IT term, right? There are HR desks and other types of desks. But one of the things our company has been focused on is, as part of our employee experience journey, how do we get a single desk to rule them all, right? Whether I have any question, I can go to this one place and the information is served efficiently and effectively. That's a pretty grandiose idea and complex to execute, right? But we're putting a lot of energy into what are the current systems, what are the future platforms that help us towards that desired end state. So service desk is kind of redefining for us into it's not just IT or HR or travel or benefits. It's all in one place.
That's amazing.
But we won't ever be able to make it go extinct. It will have to exist.
We don't want to make anything go extinct.
Well, if it's not good for us.
You're going to let it change. I was going to ask you, why someone should come to Experience, but keeping in mind you've only been here a few hours. And you've never been here before. Maybe a better question would be, why should somebody talk to Nexthink, since that's a relatively, recent encounter for you?
Whether it's Forrester or Gartner, understanding what technology is in what quadrant is part of the puzzle. And so we look at that, and Nexthink is doing some pretty transformational things in this space. So that's got our attention. We want to be close to the edge, but not on it, because a lot of compliance and regulatory things that we have to be mindful of. I'm excited about coming to this event because I want to talk to people.
Yeah.
And understand like what is your real application and practical use of the platform?
Yeah.
What works, but more keenly, what doesn't work or what isn't there yet? Because then that dovetails into product roadmaps and growing together. I'm very invested in long-term partnerships. I don't want to buy a product, deploy it, and then forget about it. It's about how can we have mutual value over the long term together.
Sure. Wonderfully said. And look, thanks so much for being our first DEX Show Live guest at this year's experience.
No problem.
I hope you didn't feel too much like, as I say, a crash test dummy, but
just a little.
You did a great job. And now
Thanks, Matt.
We are faced with a challenge now of having to bring a new guest on and thanking you and saying goodbye to you. Don't even know if I should stand up, but I do want to shake your hand and thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful to talk to you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your first experience and best of luck getting those new services set up.
Thank you.
A pleasure. And would like to welcome Trent Garewal. I may have butchered your surname there, sorry Trent, but if you come on over and say hello. Have the pleasure of speaking to you a couple of weeks ago, so I should know your name better. Lovely to see you, Trent. Thanks for making the time, man. Thanks for making the time a little earlier than planned, because I think our schedule is
fluid.
It's fluid. We are doing it live.
Right. Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
How's it going, Trent? How's it been going?
Oh, it's been going great. So we just got out of a session led by Jian, and it was fantastic. We got some good takeaways, and
cool.
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Who do you work for? What do you do? Give the audience a bit of your background.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Trent Garewal. I work for Kimley-Horn. We are a engineering, planning, and design consulting firm. And I started my DEX journey realistically maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. So we're just kind of getting off the ground running.
Cool.
And I don't know if Tim knows this, but we caught up a couple of weeks ago. And Trent has some some interest in podcasting, actually.
Yeah.
And if you close your eyes, he has an amazing podcast voice.
Maybe we'll reverse roles.
I think at this rate, it might put him off seeing the general.
I'll come on anytime.
Nice. We'll have to have you on as a proper guest. But tell us a bit about that journey. When we spoke the other week, you actually mentioned that you kind of reverse engineered your DEX program at Kimley-Horn, right? Like you went for you established a team and a priority first of all, and then you reached out to Nexthink. Then you considered your technical options. Talk us through that process and how well that worked out in the medium term. Do you think that's a good way of doing it, etc.?
Absolutely. So I really was dipping my toes into employee experience.
Yeah.
Working with our HR team and trying to figure that out, and I really wanted to say how do I bring this to IT, right? And so we started out there, and really, we wanted to build something, and I saw a skip level manager with a stopwatch timing his laptop, and I was like, we have to be able to get this data at scale. We can't keep doing what we're doing. And I heard the service desk saying we have questions, and our employees are coming to us and they're asking us hey, why did my computer act this way on Wednesday? And you're like, I don't know what happened on Wednesday.
You should have called me on Wednesday, right?
Right, exactly. But they're just too busy, right?
Yeah.
So I thought there had to be a different way. So we started doing our research and bringing in some partners, and that's when we called Nexthink.
So year and a half on your journey, but certainly plenty of time to learn something. I like looking in the rearview mirror and then looking forward. So looking in that past year and a half or so, if you were to sit in your seat right now as role of advisor, what advice would you give somebody that's here that hasn't been down that journey yet or is just starting to think about it? What kind of is the one major piece of advice you would say to either do or don't do?
The most important part is the data model that Nexthink provides is so powerful that when you turn it on, the first thing you want to do is just start making phone calls, right? And I would recommend not doing that. No one likes a backseat IT driver, especially when you're not on those teams, right? So I would say seek to understand the other IT teams before going in kind of guns blazing, right? And at Kimley-Horn, we're consultants first, but our customer and client satisfaction is pretty much paramount, right? So my clients are our employees. And at the end of the day, we want to do right by our employees. So I would say that's probably the biggest word of caution or advice is when you turn it on, don't
There's
start
a lot to react
waggling fingers.
Yeah.
And this is what you did. Is that a confession?
Of course, that is exactly
You
what I
learn
did,
by it.
right,
It's how you
right,
learn,
yeah.
Tom.
It's-
No. You hear it all the time.
Absolutely.
And then people have to learn
Yeah.
about the fact people aren't necessarily anticipating that kind of critique. They don't know where it's come from. They're not familiar with the tool.
Yeah.
It creates political disharmony.
And I probably told the story on a previous episode, but a customer of ours went down that same path. They turned it on. They found all these problems of a similar type. They put it into a problem management ticket. They gave it to the help desk, who didn't know it was coming, and said, here, you guys need to fix this. Yeah. They said, if it's not important enough for my customers to call, we're not fixing it. And they closed it. So if you don't have people as in partnership and it's more of a kind of like you said, a kind of the backseat driver, it's great advice. Looking forward, Tom and I talked a little bit about the journey from proactive to preventative to predictive. It's kind of a DEX maturity model that people follow to get up to being a strategic partner with the business. How do you see that journey? How important it is for you to develop that both at Kimley-Horn, but also as an individual? You've got to go through your own personal journey of how you deliver IT. What's the importance you put on maturing that model?
It is, like you mentioned, it's super important. We just got out of our DEX transformation session, so we just talked about this for a couple hours. But we're right now we're in a reactive kind of plus situation where we're providing tools to our service desk to clear their incidents faster. But we really want to get past all of that. We really want to start, as some of the training people have talked to, is really walking and then running, right? We've made some strategic already changes. We're working with our software vendors to actually change their product. We noticed there was an incident that was happening and we didn't have many tickets on it. So our service desk management was like, well, what's the impact here, right? And then we found out that it was happening almost 2,000 times a day. And so we reached out to our software vendor and said, hey, here's our telemetry, here's our metrics, this is what's happening, this is when it's happening. And they were able to take that data and provide a fix for us, and we're beta testing that today.
Yeah.
So it's been fantastic.
And it's a cool finding because those underlying problems that happen 2,000 times a day that aren't user interface problems are happening below the surface, your employees aren't going to call and tell you about it. Right. But it's having an impact, whether it's security and risk or performance. It's not supposed to do that, and the impact is somewhere that nobody knows about. So finding it is really cool. As you look at the next stages, what are you focused on right now to get yourself to the next level?
Right now, I think we'd really like to empower our service desk to be able to run some remote actions. So developing those remote actions and getting to a point where our service desk doesn't need to remote onto a machine to do a light lift, right? If we could use a remote action to kick that off through Amplify and save that remote headache, that user disruption really is when you're like, hey, I'm going to remote on your machine, it's going to take 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to run some updates, right? If we could just do that in the background, I think it would be a win-win for everybody. So that's currently our current goal.
Talk to us a bit, 2-3 years now with Nexthink. How much value do you find in the kind of community infrastructure that Nexthink provides? First of all, as a practitioner, how significant is peer support, peer insight into helping you develop that DEX maturity more generally?
It's great. The community, shout out to John and Charlotte.
Yeah, shout out to John.
I've joined the Nexthink Ambassador program, which has really helped me get closer to the product team. And also it's a great community of people that are kind of at the same stage as me, right? And being able to share that journey with another company that, trying to make sure we don't run into the same pitfalls.
Right.
I think this conference, that's pretty much my goal, is to get with other customers and figure out hey, let's get the minds together and figure out how are we going to get through this.
That's
together.
really the benefit, is the vendor gives you an opportunity to get everybody together, and then you have more than 500 people to go network with. Yeah. So it was always the benefit for me, is talking with others.
What about as an experienced professional, right? This is an emergent career. And do you see it very much in those terms, like the future of your career is specifically in experience? And with that in mind, when you come to events like this, there's an opportunity to make connections, to potentially create future opportunities that you might not know about yet. I mean, is that part of is that how you think of experience, first of all? And is that part of the advantage of coming to something like the Experience event?
Yeah, I think DEX as a whole feels very new, especially to me. As we're recruiting, it's difficult to go recruit for a DEX analyst, right? Like that's kind of not quite there yet, but I would like to see it there. There was some...
This is where you meet one, by the way.
Right, exactly. Right.
Yeah, and there are plenty of posts out there of people posting for experienced analysts. So don't be shy if you got to look for it.
We occasionally get requests to do job descriptions at the moment, because it doesn't exist, off the shelf.
Right. So, and there's been some good research. We've seen some Gartner reports about how to define a DEX engineer.
Yep.
So we're leveraging some of that as well.
Last question for you, Trent. What are you looking forward to at the rest of the event? What stands out to you? It could be social, it could be on the main stage, breakouts. If you had to pick two things across the next couple of days,
this is the first one. Check this one off.
Check. Cross it off the list.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a chatterbox. So at social, that's probably priority number one for me.
Nice.
Is meeting other customers that are, again, like kind of on the same level of our journey, maybe slightly ahead, so we can avoid some pitfalls.
Yeah.
And then really just putting a face to the people that I'm chatting with all the time, right? I think that's probably just social again, but I'm excited for the breakouts. I'm excited to learn more, and really just kind of bootstrap everything. I mean, we've had the Nexthink product installed for almost a year now, but the journey's been a little bit longer than that. So, we're just gonna hit the ground running.
Well, look, best of luck with the next stage of your journey. Thanks so much for doing this today, and we would really genuinely love to have you on as a proper guest in the new year. Yeah, come back on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Trent.
Thank you, Trent. I feel I can't really stand up. I got my microphone here, but it was lovely to see you. Thanks so much. And I think if the producer thumbs up, we've got Drew with us. We've got our third guest is ready. Drew Sanchez, ladies and gentlemen, from Vituity. Drew, I feel like we've met before at another experience. How you doing, man? Is that right or wrong? Is this your first time?
This is my second
experience. Okay, yeah. How's it going so far?
It's going great so far.
Yeah.
I love Boston, and coming back a second year this time, I have a little bit much more ground on what sites to see and what to skip.
Where are you from?
I'm coming from Idaho, so Eastern Washington, right alongside the border.
Cool.
What are you skipping?
I'm sorry?
What are you skipping in Boston? What was a mistake last time around?
Last time, let's see, too much walking.
Yeah.
Can take it out.
So now I'm just gonna make sure I maximize my time, but overall absorbing the experience here and learning learning from other customers and clients on how to best use Nexthink and just run back home and just hit the ground running.
Super. Before we get stuck into Vituity,
yes, sir.
Just a word about that, because you've come back. This is your second experience.
Yes.
Last year was your first?
Yes.
And what brought you back fundamentally?
More so just the drive towards automation. We went from really not utilizing the full capabilities of Nexthink in our environment and the infrastructure, to now realizing that we can maximize it more with automation. And as we drive towards the integration with ServiceNow and other products that we use, I think it's going to be a huge value to bring home for our team.
And tell us a bit about Vituity before we get stuck into it then, because it is an unusual organization, right? It's quite unique.
Yeah.
And tell us about it and then what the ramifications are for its particularities on the service you provide.
Yeah. So Vituity is very much in the healthcare industry, but what it is a physician partnership across the states. So skilled nursing facilities, teleneuro, telehealth, also ER physicians, and also the billing revenue cycle management. Right. So we kind of manage all of that in its umbrella of care. Mm-hmm. So we help doctors with their hospital portal systems. We also help from the in-house administrative departments like HR, technical operations, all that encompasses the business flow. I've been with the service desk team now for 10 years, so I've watched it grow from a very small hub of agents to now being a team of 23, 25 at its peak.
Right.
So it's really cool.
Let's go stuck into that.
Yeah, so I'm realizing as I'm about to ask Drew a question that we normally have managers, directors, VPs, senior leaders, thought leaders in the industry on the podcast, but they don't do anything. Drew is the feet on the street, hands on, and we almost never have an opportunity to talk to the guys who actually do the work. Yeah. So tell us about the experience at that help desk. What's it like as an employee? You talk about growing the staff there. Yeah. It's a clear indication that you need more people, so something's going on. Mm-hmm. So just kind of give the folks a flavor of what it's like to be in the front lines.
So seeing the growth from the enterprise level, hiring waves after hiring waves after hiring waves, and where's the help desk support? Yeah. We needed to leverage the tools that we have already on hand to really provide good quality service. For me, being that boots on the ground type of employee, I can advocate to what I want Nexthink to do for us as a company, and that's driven solutions. I have a say in being able to really kind of vocalize, hey, there's a certain task or functionality from this tool, Nexthink, that we can really solve more headaches than cause them. Yes, CEOs, director levels, executives, they don't really quite see it. They like to see infographics. Maybe
they look at them. They like the numbers, the charts. Show me a one-page chart of numbers.
Yeah. And so now knowing that I can break down what those numbers mean or how it translates into the employee experience. And that's, to me, one of the biggest, I would say, like my pride, pride of my work, because I was able to get the opportunity to run with Nexthink, where it was just being underutilized for some time.
Yeah, people don't really care that you brought in a new shiny tool. It's all about the outcome, right? So how as you've been there for this amount of time, how is bringing in that new capability shaped and formed and evolved what you can actually deliver? What are the outcomes that you've seen that you wouldn't be able to do without it?
That's a good question, because a lot of it is behind the scenes. We try to eliminate digital noise for the employee. Also, being a doctor, serving the doctors, we don't want to give them a headache of a pop-up,
right?
Because that's the last thing they want to see. But at the end of it, we can really start to focus in on the results of device remediations and things that they're not aware of. And we show leadership, hey, this is how we've improved overall devices over time. That to me is one of the, like I mentioned a moment ago, it's my pride. Is being able to just show what's going on behind the scenes that they don't even realize, doctors and just employees and associates.
It's that excitement, sometimes you use the word adrenaline, of the proactive accomplishment, right? IT people love to be in the midst of the fire. We put the fire out, it's 2 a.m. Nobody could fix it, but I found the problem to the blue screens across the enterprise. We got to take that same adrenaline and put it into the proactive side, and you're down that path in a big way. Look, not so much of the last 10 years, but the next 10 years. Yes. What is the service desk? What does IT operations look like? How does it evolve? Will it still exist? We've talked about the death of the service desk, the evolution of the service desk. What's your envisioning of services over the next 10 years? And maybe that's even too long, 5 years.
I just got out of the DEX automation training workshop, so there's a lot of excitement now, kind of considering the new areas that we can tap into. Just automatic resolutions,
right?
And that's to me kind of the future scope of what I'd like to see is service desk didn't need to get involved. They fixed my issue without any interaction besides a couple clicks. I like the 2-click solutions. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I'd love to see more hands off, but again, working behind the scenes to construct these flows that will help the end user experience.
Our first guest today, quite bullish about the idea that the service desk could go extinct. As somebody who works in the service desk, do you see that kind of prognosis as more a question of nomenclature, right? Okay, it's just calling it something different. At the end of the day, it's the employee experience that matters, it's the data that matters, and it's the service that matters. Or does that make you feel away? Does it make you feel insecure? What is your overall reading when you think of your own career and its future?
I have no fear at all.
Well, I can tell that. I can tell that. Nor should you. But just interested because some people do react to it in a reactive sense.
And they react that way because they think it's the death of my job. But
Exactly,
if you've got a career path to take your job to a new level, it sets aside those fears.
If you're trying to find new solutions, progress your own career, find new technology, then you can, and you have that kind of driving point of pride that Drew does. You're going to be more than okay, right?
Yeah. And I'm the type of person where I like to be uncomfortable sometimes, so that way I can really expand my vision to know that there's a bigger picture. So feeling like death of a service desk is not so much a threat, it's where's my next opportunity as part of the service desk, because I have I like to serve in that sense that, it's just part of my nature. So to be able to provide a good experience, whether it's just in general employee engagement, but otherwise providing a great customer service is very core to my nature.
Have you seen our new survey report, Death and Rebirth of the Service Desk?
No.
Oh, we must hook you up with it after the interview, talk to the producer, and we'd love to know what you think of it, and maybe have you on in the new year to discuss it further, because it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Drew.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Lovely to meet you again, and enjoy the rest of the experience. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, just good luck not knocking anything over. It's not easy. It's not easy. And it's we're really in the flow now, Tim.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling.
A fourth and final guest, Steve Massman. Steve, welcome. Lovely to meet you.
Steve, how are you?
Lovely to meet you both.
Come on in. And from Systems Architect, Veterans United Home Loans. Can I just say, as an Englishman in your country this week, a very American-sounding organization, right? All of those things together,
Yes, we love our veterans.
And how long? Yeah, quite rightly. But also the way that the America provides like infrastructure and support for veterans, and tell us a bit about the organization for someone who's not American like myself. It's quite well known.
Yeah, so we're a mortgage company based out of Columbia, Missouri. We, our core business is the Veterans Affairs loan. Not affiliated with the VEA, but that is our core business.
Right, sure.
Yep, we love serving the veterans.
And tell us about your role and how that sort of complements
my role's recently changed. I was end user computing focused, but we are starting the new DEX team based on our Nexthink Experience. So I'm still systems architect, but more DEX focused now versus end user computing, keeping things patched, that kind of stuff.
Fascinated to know how you feel about that transition. Do you feel it's like it's a phase in your career, or do you feel like a door has opened into something you see as having quite potentially kind of quite a deep future, if you will?
Yeah, it's definitely going to have more focus potential going down the road versus end user computing is just the day-to-day management of work points or workstations. So I think, there's definitely a lot more potential in the DEX space.
And you're relatively new to DEX, as you say. This is presumably your first experience.
This is my first conference, yes.
And so far, I know it's early days. What's been the vibe? What's been the experience like?
I just got out of the automation course, which was really good. Cool. A lot of good content on issues we're solving or trying to solve today. So looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Yeah, great conference so far.
And you've got a diverse set of technology background. I was just looking at some notes around the VMware user group back in the early 2010, 2012 timeframe, organizing meetings and social events and demos and presentations. As a techie myself, I always, and we talked about it earlier, always value that community. Tom asked my opinion about how I see the DEX community coming together. What's your opinion? Is the community at events like this kind of a seldom thing that allows you to collaborate with folks, or do you see it in other areas? How's the community coming together around DEX?
I think the community is continually growing. As a new DEX or as a new Nexthink customer, I've definitely taken advantage of the community site and all the knowledge sharing that happens at that site. And with my past experience in VMUG, VMware User Group, the networking portion of those events is the biggest part of them.
Yeah.
Getting the product showcased, type notes from our vendors is good, but the networking of how other customers are using the same technology and the nuances within their organization is the biggest benefit of the community.
Sure. And that benefits you as an individual technologist and your career. It benefits your employer as you kind of formulate how you want to deliver some things. But there's also value in it for the vendors. How do you see the community providing feedback to vendors? What's been your experience about the value that that community can give back to product development and the overall space as a whole?
Yeah, we've had several instances at the VMUG where a vendor hears an issue of one customer and they think it's just that one customer's problem. And we quickly find that, no, that's an issue across the board and you need to get it resolved because you're affecting a lot of customers.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very beneficial.
I've heard some customers say, I went to my software vendor, I gave them all my metrics and all my telemetry about their problem, and the first question they had for me was, where did you get that? So it can be extremely valuable, not just the data from the telemetry, but also feedback from people on why that problem is such an issue for them.
Yeah, the metrics like you're talking about, we've already found that from the user perspective, our ServiceNow instance is not as fast as we thought it was.
Yeah.
As compared to the telemetry we're getting from the ServiceNow instance versus the user experience. So,
right.
Yeah, we've already found a lot of benefit with the metrics we can get out of
Great.
application experience.
And looking ahead across the next couple of days at the agenda, what stands out to you most of all? What are you most looking forward to? Is there anyone here that you know is attending that you're very keen to talk about and break bread with?
I'm part of the Nexthink Ambassador program.
Great.
Yeah. Fairly new, so I'd like to meet all the fellow participants and then also hear about the roadmap and what's coming in down the pipe. And look at the products that we currently do not use inside of Nexthink, but we would like to get more information about those. We're a big WebEx shop, so collaboration experience doesn't play that much into our company, but hopefully we'll get something out of the conference. And then adopt. We want to look at adopt also.
Nice. Yeah.
But even that feedback on WebEx, our collaboration team, our product owners should know that, right? We've got customers who use something that we don't have the same telemetry on. Let's add it. We're going to go have some conversations.
Absolutely. Steve, you're our last guest of 4, and I've got to ask you to end with a nice, strong experience plug, if that's okay. If you're a DEX practitioner, should you come to Experience and why?
I think you should. Just to being able to get access to the product teams at the conference, ask your questions, and then also to be able to hear from other customers on how they're using the product that you may not have thought about is very beneficial. And that's the biggest thing out of the conference. And it's free.
It's free. It is free.
There you go. It's free. Can't beat free.
If the hotels aren't always free.
No.
But,
Yeah.
but Steve,
the conference itself is free, so it's great.
Stay sat with us for a moment. Thank you so much for coming on. Pleasure to talk to you. And want to thank everybody involved in pulling this extra special DEX show together. Thanks to Catherine, Sarah, Ella, Justin, and Jack. It's a great setup. We've had 4 fantastic guests. Thanks to all of them. Thanks to you for tuning in. Thanks for coming to Experience. And we hope to see you all very soon. Tim, good to see you in person.
You covered it all, Tom. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Always good to be with you in person. I'll see you in London.
See you soon. Bye-bye.